What is up, guys? So it's been a while since I've reacted to anything Colin Cowherd has said, and from time to time, I come across some of his videos, and I always find it interesting to see what he has to say about the Packers. And so I want to click on this. I have not yet watched it, so I don't know what he's going to say here. I mean, besides, it says Jordan Love to the Seahawks. Roll the dice on him, so what if you miss? I don't know what he's about to say. I want to go through here, though, and listen to this, and feel free to give your thoughts in the comments as well. And if you guys would like to see my Packers newsletter coming out, most likely tomorrow, I'll be answering lots of different questions about the Packers, whatever you guys asked me earlier today. If you want to see that, link in the description. You can sign up, put your email in, and you'll receive that tomorrow. So let's get started here and see exactly what this Jordan Love theory is by Colin Cowherd.
So I have a theory on the Packers. They know what Jordan Love is, and they know what he's not, more than anybody in the league. They know the odometer on this car, right? Like they more than anybody know exactly what they have. They have 3 years of film. And so Brian Gutekunst, the GM, was asked, if he is ready to be an NFL starter right now. The longer the answer, you learn this with kids, the more BS it is. The answer, of course, is yes. That was the answer with Mahomes. That was the answer with Herbert and Burrow. Is he a starting quarterback? Yes. And then you stop talking. That was word salad. So, Green Bay, I'm thinking about this. No.
Okay, wait. So I think he's saying because when Brian Gutekunst was asked about Jordan Love in his press conference, he talked a lot about him, praising him. I guess he's saying because he said more, he's trying to convince people that he's good so he can be traded. Potentially, I think that's what Colin Cowherd is getting at.
I mean, the season's over. Why risk Aaron Rodgers?
It's not over. We still have a chance, Colin, even if it's a 1% chance.
Aaron has been totally comfortable discussing staying healthy. Does he want to get the you-know-what kicked out of him? But if you've only showed Jordan Love for a few snaps against Philly, he looked good. Maybe you start him the final week against Detroit's awful defense like a movie trailer. Only the best gets out. And some GM and some team, there'll be 11 teams, maybe 12, looking for a quarterback, says, I'll give you a second for him. But if you let him play all 5 games, you know a little more than we're comfortable you knowing. I am always suspicious when somebody asks me a question or somebody asks anybody a question and you can just answer yes and no. And they ramble on and on. Nobody rambled with Mahomes. Nobody rambled with Herbert. Nobody rambled with Kyler Murray.
All right, well, I haven't seen, interviews where in the past other coaches or GMs were asked about Kyler, Patrick Mahomes, and the other guys, but Colin seems to say that they just said yes to the answer instead of explaining why. I see where he's coming from, but I don't know. Let's see what else.
Yeah, that's the answer. Have Aaron Rodgers 2 or 3 times say things like, boy, I'm watching Jordan Love. He is really something. Oh, he's already done it twice. Talk about him, play him here, there, maybe the Lions' bad defense. Let Jordan Love carve up Detroit. They'll be out of the playoffs. Getting a little film study on their young DBs and young defenders. I'll throw a team at you. Let me throw a team at you.
Throw it at me.
They have a 70-year-old head coach who may have no interest at all, even though he'll have the pick to get it, to rolling the dice with a college kid that's 22, Pete Carroll. The Seahawks have 2 firsts and 2 seconds. Geno Smith is good enough to get him to the playoffs now. That's a lot of picks. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a third, 2 fourths. They have a ton of picks and draft capital. And Pete Carroll says, I'm going to take the Georgia interior.
Okay, so before we finish on there, he's saying the Packers could maybe trade Jordan Love to the Seahawks. I, for one, honestly think it's more likely that in the offseason, the Packers could trade Aaron Rodgers. If you had to trade one of the quarterbacks, I don't think you necessarily have to. And I put out an article or newsletter the other day explaining why I think this is the case. And part of it has to do with the fact that in the past week, I think it was after Sunday's game, Rodgers said, for me to return, the interest has to be mutual, which had me thinking that Rodgers at least had something in his mind that thought maybe the Packers weren't willing to commit to him even in 2023. which after giving Rodgers a massive contract extension seemed a little odd to me, and I hadn't really thought about that maybe they actually want to move on from Rodgers. But that comment from Rodgers, at least in my mind, made me think that there is a possibility that Rodgers thinks Brian Gutekunst, even though he's saying he wants Rodgers back, even though he paid him that massive contract last season, he may have changed his mind. That's what I got from Aaron Rodgers saying that, which then makes me wonder if that were the case and Jordan Love looked like he looked against the Eagles. I think Colin Cowherd is inferring that if Love isn't as good as maybe he looked in the game against the Eagles, if Brian Gutekunst has watched lots of practices and he thinks that Jordan Love maybe outperformed in that one game compared to how he's looked in practice, I think Colin Cowherd is saying, okay, don't play it, keep Aaron Rodgers playing so that you can sort of trade away Jordan Love and get some draft capital. I just sort of think when you look at Matt LaFleur talking about Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers talking about Jordan Love, I don't think this is some big thing from the top down where Gutekunst is like, Aaron Rodgers, please praise Jordan Love so I can get some draft capital for him. I don't think they would have that kind of conversation. I mean, maybe they could. I just doubt it. I don't think he's just saying those things to increase Love's potential trade value. So I really think that Jordan Love has progressed. We've seen it even in that Eagles game. Matt LaFleur, I think, is typically pretty honest with things and how Jordan Love is looking. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, I think is always honest. He's not really one just to say things just to say things. And he said in the past that Love has become a master of the offense, and we sort of saw that against the Eagles. So personally, I honestly just don't see the Packers trading Jordan Love because I think when you wait 3 years, he's had 3 years to learn under one of the best quarterbacks all time. You can't buy something like that to have the mentorship that the Love has had under Rodgers. And we knew coming out of college that Love has, the talent. It just could take some time to work on his accuracy and, figuring out the offense and all these things. And now he's had 3 years. And I just don't know if I see Brian Gutekunst this offseason saying, even though we don't know how long Rodgers will be here, he could leave after 2022. He could leave after 2023. Would the Packers really trade Jordan Love with the uncertainty of when Rodgers could leave? Because if they did trade Love and Rodgers retires after, let's say, 2023, then they have to find another quarterback, and they would have given up on a guy who was already 3 years here in Green Bay. I think the only reason Brian Gutekunst trades Jordan Love is if he doesn't think he has the ability to be a starting QB in the league, which if that's the case, I guess it's better for the Packers to trade him. And really the only guy who knows that, or at least has a really good idea about it, is Brian Gutekunst. Of course, the coaches who are there every day watching Jordan Love. So I personally think we should keep Love because I think he looks very talented from what we saw in that small sample size. But if he were to be traded, I think the reasoning would be Brian Gutekunst doesn't think he is as good as maybe we saw in that Eagles game. But for one, I honestly think the Packers will keep Jordan Love. But let's finish off what Colin Cowherd is saying.
D-lineman first, it's their biggest weakness. I'm going to get another edge rusher. Top of the second, they go get a center. Another, in my opinion, weakness. It's a good center draft. 3 really good ones second round. And in that second pick in the second round, what do they have for a need? Nothing really. You can add a receiver, but college football gives us 20, 25 receivers a year. Give up your second round pick to get Jordan Love, 3 years under Aaron Rodgers, 3 years NFL practice. Roll the dice on him. So what if you miss? You hit such a home run on the Russell Wilson deal. You hit such a home.
If I was the Seahawks and could trade away a second for Love, man, I would do that all day if I was the Seahawks. I just think Love is going to be very good. I just think he's going to be great. And I think that looking back in the future, if the Packers really traded Love away for a second-round pick, I feel like Love has some crazy high ceiling. So I would honestly be sad to see Love go. I just really feel like he's going to be great. And maybe I'm wrong, but who knows?
Home run in the draft last year. Good God, their first 6 picks are all great. Not good, they're great. That's 6 for 6. They got 2 starting corners. Jordan Love in Seattle is perfect. You think Pete Carroll at 70 wants to roll the dice on tiny Bryce Young? I don't think C.J. Stroud's going to be a great pro. Will Levis is a mess, though he's talented, but he's a project. Pete Carroll's out of the project business. Jordan Love's going to be 25 next year. 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers in a very stable organization. By the way, Green Bay would love some draft capital if they're going to keep Aaron Rodgers. Why? Because he's so damn expensive, they got to get some cheap labor. They got to hit like Christian Watson picks 2 or 3 times.
All right, so there is the entirety of the Colin Cowherd video right there. But honestly, I really hope the Packers don't trade Jordan Love. I think if you watch some of his interviews, he just seems like such a solid guy, like a humble guy. He does what he's supposed to do. He never complains. He always shows up, and he looks to be improving week after week after week. And I'll be really sad, honestly, to see him go. And I think when you look at Aaron Rodgers' career, I really don't think he's going to play another 4 or 5 years, maybe at max 3. But I could even see him, playing 1 more year, 2 more years, maybe even retiring after this season potentially. I feel like he'll play at least in 2023. And I think there could be a scenario for the Packers where Rodgers plays in 2023 and then Love comes in 2024. That makes lots of sense. I think that could be maybe one of the more likely scenarios. And I think it'll come down to, as well, if we look at this offseason, the Packers have to decide if they want to exercise Jordan Love's 5th-year option, which would mean his 4th year. He would be in his 4th year of his rookie contract in 2023. His 5th-year option would then be 2024. And at that point, if the Packers do exercise that option, it would be pretty tough to keep both Rodgers and Love in 2024, because then you'd be playing Love $20 million and then Rodgers whatever he's going to get paid. And of course, there are lots of salary cap ramifications with Aaron Rodgers' contract. A little confusing, honestly. I've dug into it a little bit, but there's some differing factors depending on when they would release or when he would retire. Lots of different things. So I don't want to get into that in this video, but honestly, I think this offseason, it'll be interesting to see what happens, and obviously, depending on what Brian Gutekunst decides to do with Rodgers, with Love, exercising the option, not doing that, it'll give us lots of answers going forward. And so, who knows what Brian Gutekunst is going to do? He said he's already seen enough from Jordan Love to make his decision, and I'm very curious to see exactly what that decision is. So it is going to be another very interesting offseason for the Packers. It felt like after last year, with the Packers giving Rodgers that extension, that maybe things would be more certain for the next couple seasons. But with Rodgers saying in the past that every year he's going to have to decide if he wants to play again, we're going to be wondering, will Rodgers return? Will he not return? Who knows? We'll see sometime in the next few months, most likely. That's all I have for you guys. If you want to see my Packers newsletter coming out tomorrow, most likely, feel free to click the link down below, enter your email so you'll receive that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.